One of the most common causes of back pain for grandparents is picking up their grandkids. Imagine you're here at the Palace of Fine Arts on a family vacation and you pick up your grandkid and ouch, you hurt your back. In this video, I'm sharing movement principles on how to strengthen and avoid back pain so that you can still enjoy your vacation and playtime with your grandkids. One of the principles of Pilates is the breathing. So I'm gonna have you lay down on your back and just be aware of your breath. Try to not to change anything and just keep your eyes closed and just observe your breath. Are you breathing into your belly, or are you breathing into your chest, or are you breathing in your neck? You could put your one hand on the chest, one hand in your belly, and just to try to be aware and observe what's moving first. And in my case, I feel more my belly going up and down. So in Pilates, we want to breathe through the side of our ribs. So we got to inhale in our nose, then exhale with our mouth with pursed lips. So I'm going to put my hands on my ribs. So inhale into your nose, then exhaling with your mouth. So I should feel my ribs opening up as I inhale. Then exhale. And some of us, maybe it's hard for us to feel the movement, or it's hard for us to redirect the air. And another way of doing this type of breathing is by in a seated position with your body draped over your thighs. Your hands are on your shins. So in this position, it kind of forces your abdominals to be compressed. So it's going to force the air not to your belly, but to the side of the ribs. So as you can see in my ribs, it's going to expand as I breathe in. Inhale. Then exhale. So you should feel these ribs expand. And exhale. So try to be aware of not lifting your shoulder, like when you don't elevate your shoulders. So try to breathe more down to the lower lobes of your lungs. That's more of an efficient way of breathing. The tendency is when we sit most of the time, like most of our jobs are in a seated position, we tend to develop a dysfunctional breath pattern. So our diaphragm, instead of going down as you breathe in to go to the lower lobes of our lungs, it goes up. So instead of using 80% of your capacity, you're only using 50%. So this corrects your breath pattern. And one benefits of breathing in this manner is it activates your deeper core muscles. So it's sometimes with people, when we talk about core, we think about crunches, but that's just the top layer of your core, which is your abdominals, your obliques. The core muscles that we want to activate is the one closer to the spine, the local stabilizers, we call it. So it's activated with breath. So I'm going to pretend to cough. I'm going to put my hand on my belly. So like, see my belly moves as I breathe, as I cough. So that's the muscle that we're trying to activate. So when you exhale deeply, so watch my belly, what happens when I exhale. Then exhale. So that muscle is like a saran wrap. It's pulling all the organs in. So it's activated with my breath. So again, inhale. Watch my belly. Exhale. So if you want a narrow waistline, this is how you breathe. Is during inhale. Then exhale. So we're trying to bring the air to the deeper lobes of our lungs. And as you exhale, and try to exhale all the air from your lungs. And so there'll be movement, movement in your Pilates movement. So you're gonna coordinate your breathing. So another principle of Pilates is the pelvic placement. So this is our pelvis, and the pelvis is, you could flatten your back, arch your back, and flatten your back, arch your back, and find somewhere in between. If I put a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, it's not going to spill. So you want to be level, and that's called neutral spine. And you'll feel that natural curve. You're not sticking out your ribs or jamming your back. It's somewhere in between. This is your pelvis. So this should be flat. And this is the most shock absorbing for your spine. So whether standing, sitting down, or laying down. So one test I do, whether you have, if your core is working properly, as I pick up my leg, then lower. So I breathe in to lift, and try to feel which muscle do you feel first. Do you feel your core, or do you feel your legs? And some of us, maybe we feel it more in our legs and our hips. So what it's telling me is your core is not activating properly. So ideally, when you pick up your leg, your core has to engage first, not your legs. And if you want to go deeper and learn more how to strengthen your core, just click on the next video later on. So that's the pelvic placement. And also, there'll be exercises that we have to raise our arm and all that. So you want to keep most of your ribs down to the mat. So I don't want you to stick out your butt. So stick out your ribs, because when you stick out your ribs, you're not stable that way. So you want most of your ribs down on the mat while keeping your pelvis neutral. So let's say when I raise my arm, and I'm gonna bring it as far as I can. So if I'm arching my back, so that's too much. So you want to be stable in your ribs. See, my ribs is still flat on the roller, on the mat. So I'm gonna raise my arm. So I'm keeping the connection in my obliques. So the obliques connects to the lower rib, to your pelvis. So I'm keeping that stable so I don't pop my ribs. Next is the shoulder. So shoulder, it lacks any bony attachment to the spine, so it kind of moves around. So as you can see, I'm doing it in a seated position. So there's two bones in our back, and if I palpate those bones, it should be like a letter H. And some of us are like a letter A, or some of us are a letter V, but that's rare. But that means it's just unstable. So one of the goal of Pilates is to stabilize the shoulder, make sure it's in a proper placement. Since most of our work in our society we tend to do everything in our front, and we tend to be short in our muscles in our chest, and it forces our shoulders to be rounded. So this is one of the movements of the shoulder. So it elevates the shoulder, then neutral, then it depresses the shoulder, it protracts, it retracts, then it rotates up, and it rotates down. So those are 6 movements of the shoulder blades. And sometimes we have muscles that tend to be overworked, and most of them tends to be the trapezius muscle. And since when we have dysfunctional breath pattern, these are secondary breathing muscles. We tend to breathe very short, narrow breath, and we overwork those muscles. Okay, so that's one of the goals of Pilates, is to stabilize the shoulders. Next is the neck, cervical. So the cervical is make sure when you're laying flat, you're not arching your neck like this. So that puts a lot of compression in your neck. So your eye gaze should be straight to the ceiling. And so if you have a forward head, you can even reach the your head down to the floor. So that means there's a lot of compression in your neck. So we need to create more space. Maybe there's some tightness in your chest. So if we want to go in depth on how to create mobility in your cervical area, just click on my video. Next. So try to lift your head and let me know how you feel. Do you feel more in your neck or do you feel more in your stomach? So if you feel more in your neck, that means you're not activating your core correctly. So you tend to use your neck to lift in this position rather than, especially when we do abdominal workout, we tend to strain. We look at the ceiling like this. So it's already, you can see the strain in my neck. So it shouldn't be strained, it should be like this. My eye gaze should be on your knees. Okay, so the last principle I want to show you is just your feet, and our feet is very important for balance. So one of my problems with my feet is this foot tends to collapse this way. So that means my muscle here, my peroneals are weak. So think of the feet like a tripod. Focus on your big toe, your pinky, and your heel is like a tripod, and make sure it's evenly balanced. So you're not here, you're not putting. So just standing, just be aware. Are you putting more weight in the front of your foot, or are you putting weight on the back of your heel? Or are you putting more weight in the inside of the foot, or are you putting more weight in the outside of the foot? Or even just standing right here, keep your eyes closed, and try to feel, do you feel more weighted on the right side of your leg, or weighted on the left side of the leg? So your feet, the stability of your feet is very important, because whatever happens here, it happens upstairs. It's going to affect your knee, your hip, your back. So if you don't have proper mobility in your ankle, you're going to have problems up there. So one problem is maybe find yourself to do a squat. So if you can you squat with your feet straight, with your arms up, and go down try to break parallel. So if you find yourself doing this and you're becoming a duck, that means you have very tight soleus muscle. So we need to create more space there. So if you want to learn more about how to improve your stability and balance by strengthening and stabilizing your feet, click on the next video. But thanks so much for joining, and see you soon. Bye.